Hey there, Russ here. Excuse me. Welcome back to the shop. Well, today we're just going to do another rambling rampage. I have that other property. I'm just about done where I won't have to spend so much time on it. So hopefully I'll be back in the shop here soon. But I have been doing a lot of thinking about my home backup system for whenever I'm forced off grid, fogs. Right now, all I have is the generator. So when the power goes out, I can plug from the generator into the plug-in on the side of the house with a cord, fire up the generator, go inside, turn the main off, turn the breaker on to the generator, and the whole house runs off that generator. Very simple setup. It puts out 7,000 watts, which is enough to run the house. Excuse me, less, but not everything except the air conditioning. The air conditioning is actually requires 40 amp. It has a 40 amp circuit breaker, so that means that I'm gonna have to get up somewhere around 9,600 watts of power in order to run that. I don't see that in the near future. When the power goes out, quite frankly, I just want to run the necessities of things. And if I don't use the air conditioner, I'll just use a lot of fans. If we're going to be off grid for a super long time, I could easily, at that point, throw together a couple of water coolers and actually do a air cooling thing, some kind, if I had to. But we don't get that hot here in Wisconsin for long periods anyway. So we've had the air conditioner on for about 2 days, and then it's off for a week, or maybe it's on every other day for a while. You never know. But it doesn't run constantly for 2 weeks or for a month straight through, as a general rule. It's just milder up here. Anyway, so much about rambling about that. At this point, I do want to make the second phase, which is the battery backup system, and I want to make it just as easy to run as the generator, where I just plug it in and start it up. So I've been thinking about it. I'm going to go with a 6,000 watt capacity on this inverter unit. That way I can run it off of a 30 amp circuit, same as the circuit that runs my generator. Then all I have to do is I can take this solar generator, roll it over to the plug it in to the house, and now I'm running off the batteries instead. Then theoretically I can take the generator, and as the batteries run down, I can take it, plug it in to the charging aspect of that inverter. So I use the generator only to recharge the batteries a couple times a day. So anyway, so this is the second phase. But trying to work on it in the house there by the power and panel and everything, I've decided it is kind of going to be kind of a pain to work in there when everything I do is out here. So I finally have decided. The shop runs on a 30 amp circuit. It has its own double breaker in the main panel out to this sub panel out here. So I think maybe actually what I will do is I'm going to take that and I'm going to make that thing here. And what I can do then is run the garage off of that 30 amp 15 kilowatt solar generator. And then I can actually use it and see just exactly how long I think I can get that to last. If the power goes out on the whole house and I have this thing already plugged in and it's running the garage and it's disconnected, all I have to do to get power into the house is turn off the main and turn on the breaker to the shop. And then the power that's being generated here will supply the power in the house through that 30 amp circuit. So everything will work very seamless, and all I have to do is throw a couple of circuit breakers on the main panel to switch over to battery power. Easy peasy. And then if a lot of times if I want to experiment with it, I will actually be able to keep my garage off grid only and still run the house on the grid and run this from that solar inverter as I work with solar and see what kind of things I can do using the solar with the battery with the solar and generator, and see what I can do as far as being able to supplement the power in instead of always having to use the generator, maybe I can then use some solar to keep it caught up. And so I'm going to be playing with that. And so I think this will work out a lot better. I think I also will be able to take that generator and move it from the shed, which is at the other end of the house. There's a shed that's about 20 feet away, and that's where I run that cord, is at the other end, and run that up to the power. But I think I'm going to move that generator out here, and then I'll just roll it in and out through the back door when I'm going to use it, so that, and then run the cord in here and plug it into the generator, which will be in this room. So I think that'll all work out much better, and I'll be able to store all that stuff here in the garage, where it'll always be heated, just like the house. And I think maybe that'll be a much better setup. So basically, I am going to be creating an off-grid garage, is what I'm going to be doing. And I know there's already a channel out there called exactly that, out of Australia. And I do watch his channel from time to time, but he has much bigger systems than I ever would even probably ever need. So I see all these guys put together these big, massive systems, and in all honesty, they would take me forever to get my money back on something like that. My power bill. In the summer months, when it's not real hot and I'm not running the air conditioner hardly any, my bill will run around $200 a month. In the winter, it gets up around $400 a month. That's with the gas and the electric. That's why the winter is higher than in the summer, because I have the added gas for heating, and the water heater, everything just takes more gas in the winter. So it's not a huge, I don't have a huge power bill month after month. It would take me a long time to recoup a big system. So I do want to keep it conservative, and as long as I can stay off grid and get by, I don't have to have all the luxuries like the air conditioner. I can live without it during those times, because chances are I'll be back on grid in a couple hours or to a couple of days, and this system should work good enough for that sort of thing. So, but I'll still be able to play with going completely off grid, or maybe partially off grid. I'm gonna start playing with some of that stuff to see if it's practical, that if I spend just a little bit more money, maybe I can get my power bills down to near nothing in the summer, and I would have, eventually maybe I can supplement my power with a grid tie and actually use my system to run the air conditioner, so I can get free air conditioning at least in the summer months. So just, I don't know where it's going to go, but we're going to start out here in the shop. I think I have decided. I originally was going to put this thing in the house. I think it's going to work much better to bring everything out here. Make it easier to show it to you as I go along too. So, but that's the plan. As far as the solar, I'm not in a hurry to do that. I think this year I'm going to get that battery thing up, and I'm probably going to work on it by fall. I hope to have the thing up and running by fall and plugged in, so that I can actually start trying to play with it and see how it works or doesn't work. So that's a project I'm really going to work on top of the little things I want to play with here in the shop. So I'm anxious to get back in the shop, I can tell you now, because I've got a lot of the little projects I want to do in the shop. But I think this home backup system is going to be very distractive for the next 3 months probably. As soon as I get that other thing out of my hair, I will be starting on this battery project. And I will tell you, I estimate that this thing is probably going to cost me, in all reality, I bet we spend $6,000 on this thing when we're done. I think it'll be nice. What really is going to be nice is that it'll be portable. Just like those two-wheel handcart jobs that you see them, and they got 120 volts on those things to give you emergency power. This one is the same thing on steroids. It's going to be a 240 volt, 30 amp system. Well, 25 amp system is what it will be. So, and that'll be enough to run the bare necessities in any emergency, and make a heck of a job site type generator if you needed to be able to run it all day and then take it at night and charge it in the shop, in your shop at night. So I think this portable unit has some real possibilities of having many uses out there, as opposed to using the dual system of like EcoFlow or Bluetti. They have where they take 2 units and they use a module to bring the two 120s together to give you that 240 single phase power. And this is basically going to be the same thing all in one, like those. But those you have to bring everything, all the pieces together. And even if you built that up to its maximum, they're not going to have as much power as what you can have on this other system that I'm going to build. So I'm going to have about 15K in it. I'm going to use 3 48-volt server batteries. I'm also going to use the utility cart from Harbor Freight, the 1,200-pound capacity one. Has 13-inch pneumatic tires, so it should roll pretty easy, even though this cart will have probably under 500 pounds, over 400 pounds, I would say. So it's going to be a pretty heavy unit. And a 2-wheel cart would not be practical for that, as Will Prowse proved. He did it with that massive big cart, and it really is clumsy. It's better to put that in. That's why I'm using a 4-wheel cart for mine. I may actually I've been toying with the idea of being that it laying on its back to roll it around. Then when you want to use it, you could take it and tip it up and set it up so that then you could use it. So I may take this cart and build a attachment to it so that I can roll it around, but with a quick flip of a lever, then I can grab the back end and lift it up and use it as a freestanding unit that way. And make it take a lot less footprint in wherever you put it if you could stand it upright. So I may toy with that idea and see how I can do something with that way. And you'll be able to use it even in its 4-wheel version, but when you really want to just set it somewhere and have it plugged in, you'll be able to lift it up, set it against the wall, plug it in, and you're off and running. So anyway, I think it would be nice to be able to stand it up. I'm still working on all that stuff on the cart, design-wise, how I'm going to do it and what all I want to do it and how complicated I want to make it. So we'll see. In fact, honestly, I am almost talking myself out of using that utility cart from Harbor Freight and just build my own. That's more like a cabinet that you can lay over on its back and roll it around. Then when you need it, you set it upright. I think that would be easy to do and make it heavy duty enough to be able to hold all of that. I know they make server racks out there. And I saw one guy got one that I don't know where it came from. It was a nice one. It was 6 feet tall, 6.5 feet tall. With the front door you open, he had his batteries at the bottom and had his monitoring system and all that at the top. That was a very cool outfit. So, but I don't really want anything that elaborate. But I am going to make a really nice portable type unit that you can roll around, roll it up into a cart, into a trailer, and haul it off somewhere and then unload it easily. So it'd be something you could use on job sites and that type of thing. Anyway, I think being flexible to being portable will be a big attribute for it. As far as the solar, I'm not going to do that immediately, not this year, I'm sure. But what I think I may do is get maybe 400 or 800 watts of solar panels that I can set up in the back right here and run the wires to this unit that'll be inside here. And that way I can start playing with solar, and I'll probably start doing that next year sometime. I don't know very much about solar yet, how to really utilize it, and how to. I've looked at some of the ideas about how to do solar. My system right now would probably have to be a portable solar system, just like a portable generator. And what I would probably do is design the solar panel with an attachment so that I can just set it out there, lean it out and lean it down, and it's at the right angle facing for the sun to get it. And then I can put them all out and use them, plug them all in a half hour. I should be able to set up a 2,000 watt solar system theoretically. And then when I'm done, I can fold all the pieces up, disconnect the wires, take the panels and put them on a cart so that everything stacks onto a 4-wheel cart that you can then roll around just like the solar generator the solar power can then be rolled in and out. If you want to use all the solar panels, you can. If you're only going to use less power, maybe you only need half of them that you would need. So you have a cart with all the stuff you need to be able to build the system on the fly. Figure a half hour to an hour to take it down and put it up type of thing. It makes for an easy on-the-fly system, and that's what I'm trying to achieve here, is make mine, rather than mounting the solar panels on the roof at this point. Eventually, maybe I'll do something like that, but I don't see the savings in my power bill being worthwhile to pay for what it would cost for a huge solar system to run the whole house and go completely off-grid. That would be very expensive, and it would take me well over 10 years, I suspect, to pay for it because of the amount of money I would be saving. It seems like to me. Anyway, maybe I'm in a unique position, and who knows what the power is going to be in 5 years. But right now, in my mind, with the way the power bills are, it wouldn't be a huge savings. And it would take several years. It'll take probably 5 years to pay for this generator setup the way I have it. If I was trying to justify using it, even with small solar panels, just to pay for that part of the unit. Adding the solar cost would be astronomical. So anyway, those are my thoughts about how I want to go. It starts off as emergency off-grid, but now I may actually end up using it to supplement, and maybe eventually I may end up being just off-grid. That it'll be that for a few dollars more, I can cut my power bill off completely and shut the electric off and never use it. I always run off of the solar. It's a thought. I don't see it being a practical solution in my situation, but we'll see. We can evolve as things change. So anyway, that's where I'm at with it. One more thing real quick. Oh, before I go any further, I had a gentleman send me God, I just forgot his name. I'm sorry. He sent me an email, and he reminded me of a tip that if your memory is like mine, sometimes I can take a measurement here, turn around to write it down. By the time I get there, I forgot what that measurement was. I have to go back and measure it again. Don't lie to me. It's happened to you. And as you get older, it seems like that happens more often. Anyway, he made a quick reminder that if you just keep a magnet near your ruler, that when you make a measurement, you can just put the edge of the magnet on that increment of what that measurement is, and now you don't have to remember that thing to turn around and write it down. It'll be right there for you. And using a magnet is a handy little way, especially if you're doing a lot of measuring and you want to write them down. Use a magnet to hold it long enough for you to write that number down as you're doing several of them in a row. It's a good tip. I've talked about magnets and rulers in the past, and I probably have talked about something like that, but it's been a long time. But he's right. You should probably always keep a little. This is just one of the cheap little magnets. It's not even a rare earth. And it's just good enough for me to easily slide. And I just keep it on my ruler now, so that if I need to take a measurement, it's out of the way most of the time, and virtually always. But if I need to use it, I can just slide it where I need it. Anyway, it was a great tip. I want to thank him for sending that to me. Last thing I want to talk about is sand batteries. I don't know if you're familiar with them, know anything about them. Do a search on YouTube. It'll be worth your while. And look at some of the sand batteries. The main reason why I would use, I've seen where they use them and try to pull electricity on the heat that they build up. And yeah, but what they are good for is if you have to have heat, you lose power, let's say, and you don't have the battery system, or you're only using it part-time, and then you have to, but you still got to have the heat, and you don't have the power really to run a furnace or something. One alternative, I have some kerosene heaters with some kerosene on hands for that short-term, quick and do. But if I had a problem with being off for a long time and I wanted to supplement the heat, sand batteries are actually a very good alternative. And I think that I could very easily and safely take a sand, which is basically a pail of sand with some metal tubing sticking in it and coming out, so the heat can come out of the sand and dissipate around those tubings. It's a great system, but why not make small 2-pound or 2-gallon type container, set 1 or 2 on my stove, turn on the vent to suck the fumes out from that, and then just put the pilot light first to heat it up till the battery gets hot, then bring that fire down to a very low to keep it hot, to keep it constantly heating it. You could very easily turn your house stove into a heater, a furnace also, and just put a fan behind it, and you could probably get enough to do a fairly good job of heating the house on a small house like mine without any problem. Anyway, it's a thought. Can I do it? I don't know, but I'm probably going to play with that idea, and I've been looking at it. If you're interested in kind of looking at that, I think it's worth looking at for a supplement way to get some heat in a house when the power goes out. So, food for thought. I may turn out not to be even practical, and I know, those of you are going to say, oh, you can't do that, you die from gas fumes. Those are things that I would make sure I work out so I don't have that. They always say, as long as you have enough ventilation, you can run it. Just like running my kerosene. The same thing applies when I'm using them as it does using your stove as the heater source. It doesn't matter if they're eating oxygen, so you always have to make sure you have ventilation, whatever you're using, if it's an open flame type thing. So propane heaters and all those types of things, you do have to make sure you have ventilation. So, and that's a given. But the point is, if you have to do some heating, as long as you pay attention to not being unsafe about it, there's some sources out there that you can really do. And I still think that the regular stovetop will make a good heater in any environment if you have to in a pinch. Just make sure you also have ventilation. Is better than freezing to death in your home. So, and I'm going to look at that and see what I think it is and give you some honest opinions about whether that's practical or not and how dangerous it might be. So I think sometimes you get the scary people out there that love to scare you. They're going to scare you away from it, and those that haven't really looked at it may push to do things in a bad way of doing it. I think if you follow safe principles, you can make a sand battery and actually make a regular house stove be your source of heat in a house in a pinch. So I know it's controversial, but I'm going to give it some thought and look at it and see what you think as I go along, and what I discover, I may discuss it from time to time. Just be careful. Don't run out there and just turn your fires on now and think that you're going to be safe because I said so, because that ain't what I said. So anyway, thanks for coming by. I rambled an awful lot. I had a lot on my mind. I still do. But I think that's about everything I wanted to talk about right now. I want to thank you for staying this long. If you learned something here, you like this video, hit that like button. Lets me know I'm doing something right. It's actually very important to me, I think, sometimes on some of these videos to know that you like it. So anyway, most importantly though, please come back because I'm nowhere near done. Thanks, and we'll see you guys again very soon.